I like this look. I might keep it. I might never go back. So Top Gun Maverick is the sequel to 1986's Top Gun. In Top Gun Maverick, there's this impossible run that pilots at Top Gun need to be trained to do. To do that, you not only need a Top Gun, but you need a Maverick. Of all the pilots out there to train these new pilots to do this run, why get the one who came in runner-up in 1986? Because Tom Cruise. And shut up. There is a story-based reason for it, but the point is, Maverick is back this time as an instructor at Top Gun. I'll get to my favorite part of this movie last. I'm gonna save the best for last. Best for me, anyway. And turns out, this movie is way better than it had any right to be. First of all, Tom Cruise is still on cruise control. The dude still got it. I hope I look that good when I'm that old. It's coming up sooner than later. But I love seeing Maverick as an instructor. It's one of the cool things about this movie. It's also one of the things that makes another element in this movie fall short. Because it's Maverick as the instructor, you know, you're behind Maverick, you're rooting for Maverick, which is what we were doing in the original Top Gun, but we were rooting for Maverick and Goose as students. They go up against Jester and you're like, oh yeah, take Jester out. Now Maverick is the Jester for these new recruits, so you're rooting for the instructor to take out the recruits. You're not really rooting for the underdogs in this movie, which I'm fine with, because we all root for Tom Cruise, I guess. I mean, he has a batshit weird religion that he's a part of, but, you know, we still root for him in movies. Having him as the instructor, and it wasn't in the original trailer, but it was in the second trailer, the reveal, of course, like, we already knew, though. Like, who does Miles Teller play? Just look at his face. Whose son is he? Right. Looks just like him, but having Maverick as the instructor and Goose's son as one of the recruits, there was a strong family dynamic in this movie that I just didn't expect. Well, that said, if we're comparing this to the original Top Gun, the recruits in the original Top Gun, I felt like it was easier to see the synergy among the students. You know, you had Iceman and his crew, that was clearly that clique, you know, and you had Goose and Maverick, and they were clearly over here in a different clique. It had that high school cafeteria element to it, which doesn't end after high school. Sorry for some of you who might be really excited, you know, maybe you're graduating this year, maybe you're graduating in a month, and you're like, yeah, I don't have to put up with this high school bullshit. You do. It doesn't end at graduation, folks, I'm sorry to say. But the recruits in this movie, I didn't feel that. They were just like a conglomerate of people who were good pilots because you're told they're great pilots. It's like they just vomited new recruits in this movie that we're supposed to care about more than I actually did care about. There's support characters that didn't stand out so much. That said, Maverick being the star did, and his dynamic with Miles Teller, who plays Goose's son. And actually, I do prefer that as opposed to the alternative. The alternative is, it's a Top Gun movie where it revolves around these new recruits you don't really care about, and Tom Cruise is some support character who's the instructor, but doesn't revolve around him. You know, it just sounds like a worse movie. So if you see it as choice number one, choice number two, I like the choice they made revolving it around Tom Cruise, who is the instructor. However, I think there is a third option where everybody flows more smoothly and the recruits actually stand out and have a dynamic that's more solid than this movie had. A thing I did not dig much at all in this movie is there's this love interest with Jennifer Connelly. I mean, I love Jennifer Connelly. Who doesn't? She's a goddess among us mortals. Absolutely. If you can have Jennifer Connelly in your movie, go for it. But it sounds like that's how she was cast, where they were like, whoa, we can have Jennifer Connelly in this movie. We don't have a spot for her in the script. All right, we'll make one up. So she's this will they, won't they kind of love interest for Tom Cruise's character. And it's just kind of, if you took that entire love interest arc and just wiped it out, just took it out of this movie, the fundamental film at its core wouldn't really change at all. I can't help but feel like they had her in this movie because it's the fundamentals they're going for. This is a sequel to a movie from 1986. What do 1986 movies have? You know, what do movies in the 80s, what are they known for? Kick-ass action, shirtless volleyball scene montages, and love interest. But yeah, didn't care. But I also appreciate the fact that though this movie does have its throwbacks, you know, its love letters to the original Top Gun. I thought of that because I just said shirtless volleyball montage. No, there is no shirtless volleyball montage in this one. There is, however, a shirtless beach football scene. So, you know, rolling with the times, but still, love letter nonetheless. And the intro of this movie, I didn't even talk about that. Like, the intro to this movie, it does a good job at doing what it needs to do to remind you, hey, Top Gun sequel. Without a title, if you watch the intro to Top Gun Maverick, anyone would be forgiven for thinking this is actually the intro to the original Top Gun that they're watching. That said, I felt Top Gun Maverick did it better than a lot of other movies that use nostalgia bait, whereas this movie kind of just cuts it off there. Like, okay, the energy's there, we got the audience massaged in, and now we're gonna do the sequel thing. This movie had a good balance of, you know, it's like, yeah, that's nostalgia, but also we're pushing the story forward. But the coolest thing about Top Gun Maverick for me, man, I don't even care. It was the aviation, the dogfights, the training. Because when I watched the trailer, and maybe it's because it's on a smaller screen, and you don't really think about it when you see the trailer, but when I was in the movie theater, I was like, wait, are they actually in jets filming in the air? It felt like you are in the cockpit, like the actors are in the cockpit and they're dogfighting. There's a small little making of YouTube video featurette out there, and it shows them in the cockpit, in the air, and they're talking about how important it was to actually film this live. It was awesome to see that little featurette. Also wasn't surprising after watching the movie because you feel how real it is. In a world where we've seen enough movies out there, you know, that have jets and or dogfights and they were made recently and, you know, someone's in a cockpit and they CGI everything in, it feels sterile and safe. Top Gun Maverick, I felt like I was in a jet in the air. It feels so much more visceral, so much faster, so much more dangerous because they're blasting through the air. I loved that about this movie. And for nothing else, man, when this Blu-ray comes out, or 4K, when it comes out on video, I am praying for hours upon hours of special features making of. I want to see how they filmed this movie. This movie had a surprising amount of heart. I need to say that in this video. Damn, dude, like when I say I was almost brought to tears in a scene, I mean it. And for me, this one's worth buying on Blu-ray when it comes out. All right, so Top Gun Maverick, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Review's a little early. So in that case, are you looking forward to it? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.